The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
That's right, my friends. Get ready for an amazing show with Denver Dave, Marv, and the Monty Man. This is the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Bing, bang, whoop-de-doo. Feel like whistling again there?
I kind of did for a moment.
Well, Denver's here.
Good morning.
Marv is here.
Howdy.
And the Peanut Gallery is here. Dave Fleming from
Good
Friday's
morning.
show. So Dave just jumped over from Friday and jumped into Monday.
And Friday?
Well, he does Friday's show.
Just come to hang out with you guys.
He came
I
to
miss
hang
you
out
guys.
with us on Monday. And I have a present for Dave.
All right. Glad it's...
Because Dave is the co-host for Friday's show. Dave made the wall.
Oh my goodness.
Made the wall.
Finally.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But it's in the
Well,
wrong, it's
kinda.
in the wrong frame, so we just have to stick it there for now. Okay. And Dave, here is your own copy of it. But this is an edge to edge. This is 8.5 by 11, so you got to find a frame that'll do 8.5 by 11 for that.
I think I got one.
Okay.
Or just trim it down.
Well, you can't trim it down because it's edge to edge. I don't know. My printer
It
didn't
might
work.
be ache radio.
My
Ache, not
my
tape.
printer didn't work too
Hey.
good. But we have this wall. We have this wall that
like
has our different co-host pictures on it and so forth. And if you are so inclined on Friday, which you can access any time of the week, but every Friday the show updates. It's called Entitled to Overcome Solutions for Life.
Today.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, we're going to be
Right
talking on that show coming up. We're going to be talking about bullying.
Ooh.
Bullying. Bully. That's hard to say. Bullying.
Never being picked for the dodgeball team.
Oh, those days.
Those days.
Those days. Yes, indeed. Well, welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. It is good to have you with us. The topic this week, the option of relapse. Now, I know exactly what some people are saying. Well, that's not an option. Let me tell you something. I got a cup of coffee right in front of me here, and as long as that thing sits in front of me, it is always an option whether I'm going to pick that sucker up or not.
Yep.
It's what am I going to do? Am I going to give in to that option or not? So it's always an option. So don't kid yourself. It's not an option. Oh yeah, it is.
Well, I don't think that's what they meant.
Don't argue with me.
Yeah, he's got the controls over there. Be nice.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about the option of relapse. Yes, indeedy. That's what we're going to do.
Hey, it's time for shout-outs.
Shout-outs! Denver has
Cecil, you're getting what I got, I think.
Denver has the shout-outs for this
Yeah, I
week.
do. I keep trying to put initials on the back of these, but here we go. We got Mickey, Judy, Nick, Bob, Dave, Butch, Jenny, Lori, John, Billy, Rick, Andrew, Sherry, Jennifer, Aaron, George, Pete, Wade, Stephen, Mike, TJ, and Keith. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for commenting. Thank you for
your
tuning
input.
in.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you comment on WordPress, if you comment on Google+, if you comment on Facebook, if you comment on Instagram, if you comment on Podomatic.
So you're discriminating against those who don't have the ability to use a computer.
That's right. You're darn right we are.
Well, they can always write into this show.
Or they
Yeah.
can, or anybody that writes in to Take 12
Stroke of the pen.
at take12radio@comcast.net. Or if you'd like to write, literally write. Does anybody know how to do that anymore?
Yeah, I love to.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can send a snail mail to KHLT, P.O. Box 93, Albany, Oregon, 97321.
Yeah. Pick up the pen.
It's a lost art.
It is. They don't even teach cursive in school anymore. Did you know that?
Cursing?
Cursive.
Oh.
Cursive.
Right.
Cursive.
Yeah.
There is a ray of hope. I know there's a ministry that I requested a prayer book from. In order for you to get one, you actually have to write in by hand the request.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, good. That's a good deal. Finally, I think.
Stop right there. It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Wine.
That's right. So I know I have one or two, and I think Denver does too. So Denver.
Yeah, I do. I wish I felt better. I'm kind of getting the crud, but yeah, I'd like to lay into this a little bit.
All right, just do it. Do it.
Not too hard. So I'm a janitor, right? And I'm used to picking up people's other messy little messes and things like that.
Sanitary engineer.
Yeah. Anyways, so I don't know. I go around different places at work, and I'm picking up. And I just often find it amazing to me that people will get so close to the trash can, but won't quite make it.
Heather.
It hits the floor.
Heather.
Monty. Oh, my.
I'm calling her out.
My. So let me explain one incident here that just cracked me up, and I shared it with my employer. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's typical." But the white dots, when you're making your
hole punch thing.
Yeah, the hole punch thing. The three. Well, anyways, they'll empty those out, and I walked into an office the other day, and I looked at the floor as I'm making my rounds, and all of a sudden, I see that they've emptied their machine out, and they've made their way to the trash can, and they almost got to the trash can. All right, I'm sure that some of them made it in there, but it looked like a small nuclear device had exploded the rest of them all over the office floor. And rather than go find a broom or tediously pick one up at a time, which is quite a chore in
Those things are
itself.
hard to get up.
Oh, yeah. But rather than do that, I guess it was close to quitting time, and they just thought they would jettison the building and leave them all behind.
For you.
Yeah, and it's my job, so I'll do it. But I walked in, and I thought, oh, my goodness, so close. You were so close, but you didn't quite make it. Please, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm one of these people that if I walk past a piece of trash on the sidewalk and I'm thinking, that's not my job, suddenly I get a little conviction and I turn around and I go back and pick that piece of paper up. It's just in me. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for instilling that kind of
Yes.
Moral in me. Thank you, Mother, Father. But for the rest of you, it's kind of bothersome sometimes. Just I know. Just put the trash can where you can conveniently hit it.
Yeah. So if your aim's off a little to the left, move it over to the left.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or get a bigger trash can.
Heather.
It's okay.
We love Heather.
I just think they're helping you out because.
Do you think that, Dave?
If you have something to do,
I'll be over to your office with some white dots.
I'll
be helping you out.
I actually have some on my floor already, so.
Well, what's a bummer is when you accidentally break that rubber seal on the triple hole punch thing.
Oh yeah,
and you don't realize how many have accumulated over the months.
Yeah,
and they go everywhere.
The dot fairy hasn't showed up on your desk in a month, and then you hit the corner of that and it goes everywhere. Man, that's a mess. I agree. Quickly find something to pick that up.
They're really, unless you have a vacuum cleaner, they're really hard. I mean,
the funny thing is I followed the white dots. To a particular desk.
Oh, okay. So we know who the culprit was. Yeah, all right. Maybe you should leave them a little gift.
No, mine is to serve, Monty. Mine is to serve.
Oh, okay. Maybe. All right. Is that it?
Consider yourself served.
Okay, very good. All right. So this one is for my wife.
All
right, because she came home she went to go get a burger at Wendy's, and it took her forever. There seems to be a problem when people are in the drive-thru not paying attention to move up,
Texting.
that's exactly what they're doing. They're on their stupid phones. There should be some sort of device at every drive up that disables your phone as soon as you pull in because they're not paying any attention. Yeah, and the lady's looking out the window like, come on, pull up, your order's ready. And people are just sitting there.
Maybe she's on the new app to order that everybody has.
They have that too, yeah, where you just, you order it and then you pull up and they bring it out to you.
Yeah.
Thing.
What's up with that?
Well, I heard that Uber will actually bring you an order from McDonald's now.
I want a vanilla cone.
Yeah, I want a 99-cent cone. Bring it to my house. So people that don't pull up in the drive-thru, and they have these, and more than that, and I get this, is these silly drive-thrus that are these split things. They're like split drive-thrus, and so when you have two menus, and the cars are racing to get ahead of the other car, and I mean, I'm surprised that there hasn't been some fender benders there, but
they actually flow rather smooth considering what they are about. Like you said, two merging people trying to get to the same hamburger. It's crazy. Crazy.
But my biggie though is this is Oregon. It rains in Oregon a lot. What is the deal on the freeways with the reflectors on the freeways and highway? You can't even see them. Now, the ones in the middle, every so many miles, they'll have ones that are really bright and you can see them. But I don't get it. They don't have any on the side. Like, they should have ones on, what do they call them, the fog line, that are like yellow and have the white ones in the middle so you can see where the flipping road is. So it's pouring down like crazy. We're coming back from Salem yesterday and we realized you can't see the road. Now you could if they would put the reflectors down, but in a state like Oregon, you would think they would put those down.
Yeah, it's not like they have plows that run the freeway,
right?
For 4 months out of the year.
Yeah,
you have poles for that, don't you? Along the side of the road when the snow piles up that high.
Oh,
yeah.
This is how high the snow was, and so I don't know. I was thinking, come on, road department. We're paying taxes here, for crying out loud. Marv, you got anything to whine about?
No, you guys pretty well took it all on me.
Dave, any whine? Any whining?
That counts?
No, I quit 13 years ago.
Oh, did you? Well, we're just starting.
We'll see.
All right.
I quit the wine.
But more importantly, there is a win. That's right. Absolute win. Yesterday was Resurrection Sunday. And I had a marvelous day yesterday. I went to church in the morning at Neighborhood Church. Had a wonderful service there. And then went over to Hope Church and watched my son direct the choir over there. And they put on an extremely well done presentation. The music, everything was just awesome. They had a ton of people getting baptized, and that was awesome to watch. And they had these great T-shirts for everybody. You get baptized, you get a T-shirt. I almost decided to get baptized because I wanted a T-shirt. But no, you get a T-shirt, it has a big giant water drop on it. It says, "I have decided." And I thought that was really cool. And then to top off Easter, I came home and I got to watch one of my favorite rock artists perform his role as Herod in the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. Alice Cooper played Herod, John Legend played Jesus, and it was amazing. They did an excellent job. And it's hard to pull off a live Broadway performance and televise it, but they did a very, very good job with it. So that was my win. It just wrapped up Easter for me, just superb. Yes. You didn't see it, did you?
No, I slept, like I said.
Alice Cooper was a trip as Herod.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alice Cooper's a trip anyway.
He's a trip anyway.
Can't wait to get him on the show.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it was really good. And so there's that. Yeah, so the resurrection of our Lord and Savior was celebrated yesterday, and how can you not win with that?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. All right, we're going to take a little break and come back. We're going to do a little Take 12 trivia. Don't go away.
A college security officer called to tell me there was a drinking party on campus. The officer said there had been excessive drinking, and our son was in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. He said my husband and I should come as soon as we could. I knew my son would face distractions and temptations when he went away to school. He already had unfortunate experiences with alcohol, and he was a little too good at fitting in with the crowd. I had no idea things could get so much worse, so fast. A nurse suggested we attend Al-anon family groups. Even though our son claimed his drinking was no big deal, he said he was not an alcoholic and that he could quit whenever he wanted. I didn't want to go to an Al-anon meeting, but I'm sure glad I went. Is someone's drinking troubling you? You might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-anon family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
And welcome back. I think it's time. It's time. Oh, yes. It's time.
It's that favorite time of the show for Cecil. It's Take 12 Trivia Time. Brought to you by that 12-Step Magazine award-winning publication, The 12-Step Cassette. Visit their website at 12stepcassette.com. And now, here's your favorite trivia host, the Monty Man.
Yeah. That's the way I feel.
That's right. It's time for a little Take 12 trivia. Thank you, Cecil. Cecil has a cold. All right, we've done this one before, but these are different questions. This is hamburger trivia, Dave. Dave's rolling his eyes. He's going,
Hamburger.
Welcome to Mondays.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, here's number one. How many hamburgers on average do Americans eat per year?
Oh.
Now, I'm going to give you the choices here.
Okay.
15 billion, 25 billion, or 50 billion. Dave, you're the peanut gallery this week, so what do you think?
Can you repeat them?
15, 25, or 50 billion?
I thought it was individuals eat.
Now, how many hamburgers do average Americans
50.
eat? 50 billion?
Sure.
Uh-oh.
Somebody's phone's ringing.
Yeah, that's me.
Maybe it's the president or the vice president or your boss.
It is my boss.
Marv, what do you think? 15, 25, or 50 billion?
I'll go with 50.
50? What do you think there, Denver?
Well, that totally blew me away. I thought individually because I would eat cheeseburgers 3 times a day. So I'm going with the highest number.
Yeah, you guys are correct.
Excellent.
It is 50 billion. That Americans eat 50 billion burgers a year, which translates to 3 burgers a week for every single person in the United States. So
Are they including all burgers?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't ask me where they get these numbers. I don't know. Maybe some rabbit somewhere makes them up. I have no idea. But that's what they say. Whoever they are.
They.
The
burger police.
Yes, they. Ooh, that sounds like a horror movie. They. Here's number 2. According to the McDonald's burger chain, as of 2013, McDonald's sells how many hamburgers per second? 25, 50, or 75 per second? What do you think, Denver?
The largest number again.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, I agree.
Marv?
I was thinking per second, the
Yeah.
smallest number.
Well,
No.
sorry, Marv.
Yeah.
It actually is 75 per second. That's as of 2013.
Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
75 per second.
That's worldwide, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's number 3. To avoid using the German name hamburger, World War II soldiers used what name for the burger. Here's your choices: Beef Witch, Liberty Burger, or Slider. Dave, what do you think?
Can you repeat the...
To avoid using the German name hamburger, World War II soldiers would use this name for the burger: Beef Witch, Liberty Burger, or Slider.
I'll have to go with Liberty Burger.
Okay, what do you think, Marv?
Liberty Burger.
Slider.
Sorry, Denver. You guys are correct, though.
I almost said
Slider just sounds like something military.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Liberty Burger. Yep.
Slider's more of a current term.
Yes, you're right. All right, and here's your bonus. And if you get this right, so what? What is the oldest hamburger chain in America? Foster Freeze, McDonald's, or White Castle? Denver?
Oh, hit me again with a question.
What is the oldest hamburger chain in America? Foster Freeze, McDonald's, or White Castle?
White Castle.
Dave?
White Castle.
Marv?
White Castle.
Yes, you guys are correct. White Castle is the oldest burger chain in America. It was started in 1921 by Walter A. Anderson and E.W. Ingram, who sold their burgers for 5 cents.
That's my kind of burger.
Wouldn't that be great?
Little wimpy burgers.
Yeah, absolutely. That does it for Take 12 Trivia. Oh, I don't know what that was.
Squirrel.
I'm not sure.
Where'd that come from?
There we go. I don't know. That's what I have to say about that. Or maybe this. What do you think, Denver?
Moving right along.
All right, moving right along. The topic this week. Oh, Lordy. The topic this week, the option of relapse. The option of relapse. Relapse is always an option. Whether you think so or not, it is. As long as substances have been around, it's always been an option. And if it's not substances, we can relapse into old behaviors. One of the things that we know when we get into recovery, for those who are truly addicts or alcoholics or people that have come to a place where they realize that without the power of God in their life, they're powerless over the ability to, for lack of a better term, put the plug in the jug. Relapse is something that's we see it way too often. Right, Dave? I mean, it's just constant.
Yeah, that's...
people come in and out of the rooms, just like, I mean, it's just crazy. And there's a lot of reasons for it, and these are just some of them. The one that's listed as number one on this list, though, really isn't number one. It's actually probably one of the last things to happen. But we're gonna talk about that one as we work up to it. So here's one: putting off step work. Now, when we're talking about, and this show is we're really focused on a 12-step approach. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous is found in the Big Book, not in the meetings. It's in the Big Book. In the chapter named How It Works, the 12 steps, the 12 traditions are outlined. If you are not currently working your steps or have not already worked your steps, you are not in recovery, according to the outline of Alcoholics Anonymous. The entire program functions from the step work. You get sober through the step work. You stay sober through the step work. You help others stay sober through the step work. If you aren't doing the step work, you are doing none of the above. You can go to meetings and hang out with sober people and read the Big Book or other recovery-associated literature, but there is no combination of those things that can take the place of your working the steps. If you put off your step work, you're putting off your sobriety. One of the foundations of the program is giving back to others. If you never do your step work or take forever to finish it, then the longer it will take you to be able to take someone else through the steps, and what keeps you sober is giving back. That's one of the things. How many people get into a 12-step fellowship but don't do any of the steps? Maybe not even the first 3. Maybe they just read them on the wall. So that's a biggie. Would you say that's a biggie, Dave?
Oh, definitely. That's probably the number one things is people don't work the steps.
Right.
They've had some bad experiences and they say, well, I don't need the 12 steps. I can just go to church, or I can go, I can just, will myself into sobriety.
Yeah, how do you do that?
You know,
Unsuccessfully, normally.
and there's a lot of people that go there because they're required to, as a condition of probation. So, showing up and their sheet signed off, and
Right. And there's people, and I think it's okay. I mean, there's people that are not alcoholic in AA, and there's people that are not addicts in NA that go and get some good life skills, and they go to meetings and they do well and improve their life. Some of them, they were abusers and they stop and they don't have to do any of this stuff. Good for them, right? That's great. But if, I don't know about you guys, but if you're like me, I had to put these things into practice, and I had to sit down with somebody and have them teach me how to apply some basic life principles, and in this arena through the STEP process.
well, I think the steps are just a good model for anybody. They don't even have to be
Right.
an addict or alcoholic. Just a good way to live
Sure,
life.
sure. Not praying or meditating. So these are red flags, by the way. That relapse may be right around the corner, or you may be in it. Not praying or meditating. Prayer and meditation are both cornerstones of recovery. Prayer and meditation anchor the recovering person in the will of their higher power, or God. So how important is prayer for you, Marv?
How important is it?
Yeah,
It saved my life.
it saved your life.
That's how
you
important it is.
Yeah. Dave, what about you?
Yeah, once I started doing the prayer and meditation, and I pray, every day,
Right.
as often as I need to. My meditation can be reading, or it could be listening to a podcast on the radio.
One of the best books I've ever read by an alcoholic who is a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, a guy by the name of Mike D., is a book called Basic Prayer and Simple Meditation. And you can find that book. You can go to take12radio.com and click on our partners page and look at Mike D's banner, and you can get that book there. It's very thin, it's very simple, and it really addresses the importance of prayer and meditation. Denver, did you ever have a kind of wonder about this meditation thing? I mean, we talk about prayer a lot, but
Yeah, I was going to say, people see me. I'm talking to God pretty regular, sometimes out loud, and so I'm in constant all day long about prayer, meditation, finding my quiet spot where I
Right.
can just dwell on calm thoughts.
yeah,
Very important, and finding that in today's busyness is difficult sometimes, but I think it's very necessary if we're to maintain a good level of serenity in our life, is
Sure.
to have some quiet time with God, or just quiet time, period.
and meditation doesn't have to be this mystical, weird
No.
thing at all.
No.
Just sitting out on your back porch swing and just
Watching
being
the grass
quiet.
grow.
Yeah, you bet. Glorifying, and this one, I hear this so often, glorifying or romanticizing periods of prior substance abuse.
War stories.
Sitting around, and I remember there was a time in Teen Challenge where if you were caught
Yeah.
telling a war story, you were out.
Yeah, it was pretty
It was
pretty
really
severe back then.
Really severe. Yeah.
And it's still not, it's frowned upon to be digging up those glorifying moments of your past usage.
Yeah, but it can be easy to fall into and not even realize you're doing it, almost like an inappropriate joke. Before you know it, you're kind of in it. And
You often find people giving testimonies that you have to tone down because they spend more time dwelling on or discussing whatever, sharing the war end of the story, the ugly side of it, as compared to what actually is transpiring with God's recovery
yeah,
in their life.
yeah. So, Dave, as a certified alcohol and drug counselor, you hear people do this a lot?
Yeah, it happens quite often in group, and so part of my job is, or what I like to do, is try to redirect that and help them identify that that's happening.
Yeah.
And maybe think about different ways of talking about the same subject, or not. Same thing with language. Slang language, talking about women, chicks, baby mamas. I'm constantly trying to correct these guys. It's like, no, if we want to change our lives, we have to change the language that we use as well.
Yeah.
And that usually is tied into the glorifying and the old behaviors.
Marv, you've been attending 12-step meetings for a very long time. Have you heard this happen in meetings? People will start on a roll, and
I was going to bring this up, and I kind of hesitated, but what I'm seeing, and I'm trying not to be judgmental, but
sure.
There's some people in the meetings I go to that have like 25, 30 years
right
sobriety, and I get sick and tired of hearing the war stories. Every meeting they're saying the same things over and over and over, and these are people with longevity with sobriety. And so when I seen this popped up, I thought,
wow,
red flag.
But it happens.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of thinking maybe Dave's right. They don't even realize they're doing it, but they're telling the same stuff over and over and over.
I remember in my early attendance at one of the fellowships, getting into this and actually kind of getting off on it. I mean, it would kind of make me feel like I was using. I don't know if it was endorphins or what was happening, but
stories trigger the same parts of the brain as when you were using.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They've done brain scans, and it's just amazing how your brain just lights up.
Yeah,
going to places, talking about it.
Yeah. Here's one. Previous behaviors emerge. When someone who's been in recovery begins exhibiting some of his or her old behaviors, suddenly becoming less concerned with grooming and hygiene or any type of behavior that might be considered similar to obsessive compulsions, it's like that he or she has relapsed or is in great danger of relapsing. So, when a person normally acts one way and then out of the blue they're not taking care of themselves, maybe they're starting to use inappropriate language again, these kind of old behavior things, maybe they're doing stuff that they used to do when they first came in, something's up. And most of us that have attended 12-step support fellowships have recognized this, and we've elbowed the guy next to us, go, uh-oh, so-and-so's in trouble, because they're acting like they haven't acted in a while, and they're doing something different. Insisting that just one drink or just a small amount of a drug isn't a risk.
That's funny.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
I can smoke marijuana now.
I
don't have a problem with it, and it's legal here in Oregon.
This is Alcoholics Anonymous. This has nothing to do with marijuana, so I can continue to smoke pot.
Right.
And have you ever heard that, Marv? I've heard that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Subtly.
Right. So one of the things that you talk about, Dave, on Friday's show is the only thing you have to change is everything. Right. Narcotics Anonymous is very good in their literature at actually looking at this when it talks about we must abstain from all drugs in order to recover.
And alcohol is a drug.
A drug, period. Yeah. Yeah. Because there are people in Narcotics Anonymous that like to separate narcotics from alcohol. And it's interesting because I read an article by the American Medical Association years ago that actually puts alcohol in the narcotic family. Just kind of like when you're in an AA meeting and people say, we don't talk about drugs here. Well, newsflash, Alcohol is a drug. And according to Alcoholics Anonymous, alcoholism is an addiction. It's in the book. Therefore, if you are addicted to alcohol, you are a drug addict. Duh. But we
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, just want to make sure everybody
That's a game changer.
Well, for a lot of
we should
people,
just repeat that over and over and over and over and over.
I know, right? Right. Marv, in your experience in meetings, you've heard, I know I have, people get all uptight if somebody talks about something other than alcohol. Is that still going on? Where people get all excited about that?
Actually, it's a minority anymore. You don't see that a lot.
As much as you used to.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Some of the hardliners.
Right. Right.
This is Alcoholics Anonymous, or
right.
whatever.
Are they on pills?
But not near as much as
because we have
20
so much,
years ago. Or
right.
So.
Because the pure alcoholic, whatever that means, there's not too many of those. Most people are cross-addicted. Or
I'm a pure alcoholic.
Yeah. Well,
I never did drugs. I had no desire. In fact, at the risk of getting beat up here, I thought it was kind of wimpy. You drink whiskey,
That's right.
You don't.
I spilled more than you drank, right?
Caffeine is a drug.
Period. And if you don't think it's not mood or mind altering, you got another thing coming. Take away a man's morning cup of coffee and see what happens. I get a little grumpy.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Yeah.
Start going with your withdrawals.
Yeah. Not having a sponsor or not communicating with your sponsor. Now, I've been told by whoever they are again, right?
They are.
That about 80% of people that attend 12-step support meetings don't have a sponsor. And what they mean by that don't have is they may actually have when they call their sponsor, but it's only a phone number. It's not ever utilized. That's a huge amount, if that's accurate. So why do you think people don't actually have sponsors when that's kind of an important piece of recovery? Why do you think they don't get one, Denver?
Who's going to make that phone call in the middle of a good drinking session?
Or even
I wasn't.
Even before you pick up.
Yeah, I
right?
wasn't going to. Yeah.
Me either.
No. So a sponsor could really wreck that high for you.
Mm-hmm. Dave, did you ever call your sponsor right before you were going to drink or use?
Well, I didn't have a sponsor until I was pretty much I was done
with using.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this out there, but drinking was an option. Using was an option. Wasn't an option for me because I knew, because God kind of put it on my conscience that if I use again, I'm dead. I'm not going to make it back again. So, it wasn't until I was ready to actually do the work that I actually did the work.
Now, I may get in trouble with some of our mainstream 12-step fellowships, but I'd also put in there like spiritual advisors or mentors or somebody that you're accountable to. It doesn't always have to be a quote-unquote sponsor. I mean, it may be worded differently depending on where you're from or, what fellowship you're in. But if you don't have somebody that has permission to call you on your BS and you don't have somebody like that in your life, there's probably a good reason for it. It's probably because you don't want to disclose certain things that maybe you should. I don't know. I mean, I know people that don't have let's say a formal sponsor anymore, but they have 4 or 5 people in their lives that know them really well and will say, hey, Marv, what's going on? Right? You're kind of acting a little weird or whatever. I mean, if you don't have somebody in your life like that, you're probably going to find yourself in deep weeds at some point. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Thank you. not taking care of yourself. If you are preoccupied with using drugs and alcohol, your typical habits regarding self-care will likely slip by the wayside. Our self-worth and self-esteem is tied to sobriety because sobriety and recovery is a self-esteem building lifestyle.
Right. I think it's not taking care of yourself. It can be a sign of something else besides relapsing on your chemicals. It might be depression or something else going on in your life.
Or your coffee cup lid just...
Is that what's going on over there?
Yeah, I tell you, drink a coffee and...
You got a hole in your lip?
Your sippy cup fell.
My sippy cup lid fell off.
It's got a hole in his lip.
Oh, my gosh.
Relapse.
Yeah, and I agree, Dave. Reconnecting with old friends and acquaintances. We talked about this last Friday.
Yes, we did.
Old playgrounds, playmates, and playthings. I had a guy tell me the other day, well, I have a right to have the friends I want.
Sure.
Sure you do.
Sure.
So?
What's your quality of life?
Yeah. When a recovered addict begins spending time and socializing with the people that were his or her friends during active addiction, there is a significant chance that the individual has relapsed or is in danger of relapsing. I know a gentleman.
Isn't it like the barbershop thing?
Yeah, and you hang around the barbershop, you're going to get a haircut eventually? Yeah. I know a guy who actually made the statement, God told me, this is what he said, God told me to go into this using environment and use dope so I could identify with my girlfriend and get her out of that house.
That's risky
Sounds
behavior.
Like justifying.
I said, I don't think God ever asks us to sin to accomplish his work.
I don't know about that one. That's not good.
It's interesting. That was years ago, and that individual actually came knocking on our car window when we were leaving church yesterday, and he was just out of his head. Out of his head. So it didn't fare well with him.
Yeah, he didn't save the girlfriend.
No, and he's not with anybody today. Show signs of slipping out of daily routine. Similar to the reappearance of previous behaviors, a recovered addict who has relapsed will slowly begin to slip out of his or her daily routines. This could mean going to bed significantly later or sleeping much later, leaving his or her home several times throughout the day. Yeah. Unexplained absences from work, no longer keeping up with his or her laundry, and numerous other changes in routine. So we kind of covered that before. Here's one that is really a biggie. Defensiveness.
What do you mean? Sorry, just had
You were waiting for that.
Yeah, where are you going with that?
Yeah, what's that about?
End of show.
What do you mean?
So, Fred, do you think maybe that was not a wise decision? Well, I have a right to make my own decisions. You can't tell me what to do. Jeez. A common characteristic of alcohol and drug addicts is defensiveness, right? We're right fighters. Although it originates in being defensive against accusations of substance abuse, an addict's defensiveness quickly bleeds into most other aspects of life. Anyone the individual is questioned about something or any time, even the most done things, there's a strong chance that he or she will get defensive. You guys ever get defensive? Just naturally?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to pop up. Right is right, wrong is wrong.
Right.
But when you start justifying, I guess, maybe not even, it's the same thing, I suppose. But
right.
Yeah, when you start justifying it, you're liable to be maybe hiding something. I don't know.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Dave? Okay, Marv.
Jeez, Dave. Looking you right at what? What are you saying, Dave?
Exhibiting compulsive behaviors. Wow. Well, okay. Compulsive behaviors are an extremely common trait among individuals with substance abuse problems. When a person has previously suffered. Why did I say stuffed? Thinking about the cat. Suffered from addiction, there's a strong indication that he or she has an addictive personality or that he or she could easily become addicted to other things. So switching addictions, right? Shut up, Denver.
Oh, my goodness.
Give us an example.
Energy drinks.
There you go. That's one. I got one for you. When I got out of when I I started my new life and I made a go of this, I switched, from spending my money on drinking till I started going to Starbucks every morning. Right?
Yeah.
Getting the large mocha with an extra shot, and then I'd go over to the other thing I'd do is I go to Walmart. I started getting into collecting Hot Wheels. The guy at my work told me about all these like treasure chests, they call them. They've got a little symbol on them, and they're worth money.
Yeah.
And so I got into that, and so then I started. Next thing I know, I'm spending more money on Hot Wheels and coffee than I was on my addiction. It's crazy.
Wow. Were other things suffering for it?
What's that?
Were other things that were healthy for you suffering for it? Were you spending money unwisely? And
well, I probably should have put that money towards paying off some of my bills.
Okay.
To pay them off quicker, but yeah.
Is it okay to kind of go overboard a little bit with something that you enjoy as long as it's not hurting other areas of your life?
Well, I think the term overboard means it's causing problems in your life.
Oh,
right?
okay. Oh, that's a bummer.
I mean, you could do things that are enjoyable. Like I could
collect
Hot Wheels in a more healthy way.
Sure.
And make my own coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks and spending, God, I don't even know, $8 for a cup of coffee or something crazy.
So people that switch addictions or compulsions, or they go from an addiction to a compulsion, those things could include going from methamphetamine use to food, right? I mean, I've seen people, we know that meth use and a lot of other heavy drugs causes weight loss. And I've seen people actually blow up. I mean, just put on tons of weight and become what they call love hunger food addicts. We here, Marv doesn't. In fact, Marv's cut down on his coffee. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I have no idea. Something's wrong. I know that.
But I noticed that's one thing in AA meetings. Boy, you stop the inflow of coffee, people get really uptight. What do you mean we can't afford coffee? Well, people better start stepping up to the plate and donating cans of coffee. If you don't put $1 in the basket for coffee, you have no business coming to a meeting. I've heard that one before.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some old crotchety
I would
old
run
timer
from that meeting.
I'm like, what?
To the nearest coffee house.
The food thing with alcoholics is pretty prevalent too, because you go from all those calories, right?
Yeah.
From the alcohol, which basically just turned into fat anyway.
Right.
So now you got to replace those calories with food is what ends up happening.
I had a friend who would sneak out at night. Once he stopped drinking, he'd sneak out at night to go down to the 7-Eleven to get 3 or 4 Snickers bars. And his wife caught him.
Was that a friend?
That wasn't me. That was a friend.
Okay.
I'm not big on Snickers bars. It'd been Reese's peanut butter cups if it was me. But what it was doing was the sugar. He was replacing the sugar from the sugar because he was a big beer drinker. We had guys in Teen Challenge in Lebanon. We'd go down to the kitchen. We'd hear something because that was back when we had staff 24 hours a day. And you'd hear something going down in the kitchen, and these guys are down there breaking into the pantry, eating jams and jellies by the spoonful, because their body was going to withdrawal from the alcohol.
Right.
But anyway, I drink Bang energy drinks. I like them. They don't have a lot of the garbage that's in the other energy drinks. But I will tell you, quite honestly,
sounds like
justification.
Ding, ding, ding.
You know, it says in the big book, alcoholics drink primarily for the effect. Isn't that why we drink caffeine? For the effect.
It is for me.
Just to fend off the withdrawals.
So, Denver likes an energy drink.
I can see that.
I do. This compulsive behavior you speak of, I have it bad. I take up a hobby.
Yeah.
And it's just go, go, go. I took up fly tying. I had the best of everything. You know, you were unhealthily maybe even spending money to get involved into this hobby. And now I have this other hobby, which makes a little money, but I did an inventory on belts last night, and I'm sitting on about 100.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm doing a sale. I'm plugging a sale this weekend, everybody. So if you're in Piccadilly down in Eugene, Oregon, come on by and buy a belt. But anyways, yeah, my whole I have compulsions, man. I do. It's just I get started in something, and I just go crazy with it. So it was little wonder that when I picked up a bottle, I fell in love with it.
Right. Do you have any compulsions, Marv? Anything that you do a little too much of?
Probably.
You ain't gonna tell us.
Care to share, Marv? Care to share?
Well, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with this topic, and the reason is because all of these things, if they were performed perfectly, you would be a Sadducee or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And what's not mentioned here, which I don't even know how to say it, it's kind of screwing me up because I'll tell you why. I just come out of, and you know this, Monty, and Denver does too, a very long period of depression and anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I think probably through all of these things, there's been a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I recognized, and I'm not saying I'm right, okay?
Right.
Is God's grace.
Amen.
Because I have been in a lot of these so-called relapse situations.
And didn't drink.
And I didn't drink.
Right.
And that's God's grace.
It absolutely is. And and just because something's a red flag, that's just a cautionary thing. Because what you do when that red flag pops up, or what God gives you the power to do when that red flag pops up, is really, really what's important. And you've gone through some of this stuff. These things doesn't necessarily mean a person's going to return to drinking or using, but there are things to watch for. There are things to be cautious about, you know. And I mean, I have to agree with you. I've been, you know, I've experienced all of these in sobriety.
Yes.
And didn't drink.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's another thing too that I think is important for people to realize, and that is the fact that it doesn't really matter how much time you've got in the program, because this happened to me after 28 years of sobriety. And so if
the depression and all that stuff, yeah.
So if you're thinking, well, I'm an old timer, and I thought this when this first happened to me, why is this happening to me? I've got 28 years of sobriety, blah, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't matter.
Life still happens.
It still happens.
Yeah. Having unrealistic expectations. Mm-hmm. We talk about that a lot in recovery. Having those expectations. And my sponsor told me, he said, you probably shouldn't have any.
Probably shouldn't have any.
Pretty much. Right.
That's funny.
You know.
Grandioso ideas was part of the drinking for me.
Right.
I would sit and think about just, I'm the cat's meow, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to accomplish that. And none of it got done in the end.
Expectations are something I think all of us have, no matter how healthy we are, several times during the day, right? I mean, even from, the light's going to stay green. The light's going to stay green. There's an expectation, right? Yeah. And then when it turns yellow and then red, it's like, what?
Why me, God?
Yeah, why me? You know?
Don't sweat the small things.
It's what you do with them when they don't appear.
Right.
That matters.
Right. Denial, of course. If a person falls back into denial, I mean,
it's a river in Egypt, isn't it?
It certainly is. It says here it's a near universal characteristic amongst addicts. I think it's a near universal characteristic amongst anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. We can all fall into that. Inability to work through emotions. or an unwillingness to work through emotional issues. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to deal with that. You're pushing a sensitive button there. I'm not going there. And you got to watch out for that.
What I find interesting is that guys especially have a hard time identifying feelings or emotions.
Right.
It's like you ask them to describe how they're feeling or what emotions, and they just, for some reason, have struggled with that. I don't know if it's from years of society telling men that, you don't basically have a right to express your feelings. Just suck it up and,
Big boys don't cry thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a man. Suck it up. Quit your crying.
And this one Dave likes to talk about. Sudden interest in pursuit of intimate relationships. Now, I have heard it said in 12-step in 12-step fellowships. Oh, that's a treatment thing. There's some wisdom in not getting into an intimate relationship early in recovery. There's wisdom to that. It doesn't have to be a treatment thing or an AA thing or an NA thing. It's just wisdom. I mean, why would you want... you've got baggage. You want somebody else's too? I'm having a hard enough time unpacking my own suitcases.
Right.
When I first come through the rooms. But how many people, there's that saying, I got sober, I got a job, I got a truck, I got a girlfriend, I got drunk. Seen it happen a million times. Somebody gets a new higher power and she's wearing a skirt. Right, Denver?
100% agreed.
Yeah.
I can get lost pretty quick if I don't concentrate on myself first.
I don't know why. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, there's nothing in the big book about not getting into a relationship your first year. Why does it have to be in the big book to be wise?
Right.
There's lots of things. It doesn't say don't eat hemlock in the big book. But you wouldn't eat hemlock, would you, Marv?
No.
No. So that's a biggie. I think that's a real biggie. If you're early in recovery and all of a sudden you're jumping into new relationships, I don't know. That would be something to watch out for.
What do you call a new in recovery?
A new in recovery, somebody that's never done this before, and they just walk in the doors.
Okay. How many months is that?
Before you can actually seek out a relationship? I don't know. I think everybody's different, right?
Right.
I think everybody's... I think it becomes pretty obvious, though, when anything causes a distraction and you pull back from your recovery program, whatever that is. And all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore. And you're not showing up and you're not being honest and... you're not calling your sponsor or your mentor and all those things. Something is pulling you away. Something is distracting you. And we as Christians know that the enemy of our soul loves to hit us with distractions. The big book talks about it and refers to it as worldly clamors. Bruce used to talk about that all the time. The things that clamor for our attention that pull us away from what we need to be focused on. And so an intimate relationship you can have with your car. You're putting everything, all your time and effort into, it's like your Hot Wheels thing. And that could become a form of idolatry, where you're actually worshiping that thing and you're not paying attention to your own recovery. So the one that's number one on here, but I don't think it's number one as far as priority goes, and that's you stop going to meetings. I think people stop going to meetings way before they stop going to meetings. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Meetings was the lesser of the suggestions back in the days of the founders. Prayer and meditation was huge, but actually getting together in the living room with Bill and Bob and the women and some of the old guys, that wasn't nearly as important. I think people get into relapse mode and they actually are going to meetings a lot and they're saying that's their sobriety. I know people that attend meetings 3 times a day, and they can't stop drinking. So they're not going to meetings. I think some of this other stuff's not happening. So I don't think people say, well, the first thing that goes is they stop going to meetings. I don't think so.
It depends. I mean,
it depends.
The one that I hear the most of, though, is usually the meetings that end up going first. Because they they start working, they start relationships or trying to fix relationships. Especially if someone's like married and maybe hasn't even kids, and they go back home, and now there's all the pressure of you've been gone
right
all this time, or literally and figuratively, and now you need to step up and be a man and take care of your family, and then the recovery kind of gets put to the side.
Right.
So the first thing that ends up going to a lot of people that I interact with is the meetings, because now they feel pressured to spend time working. Working is a big one, and so one of the things you have to focus on really is priorities. It's like, what are your priorities? We got to have, God's first, our recovery, ourselves, our family, then our job.
Especially if you got a PO looking over your shoulder, and they're saying you've got to be at this group session. You got to check in with me 3 times a week. You need to have gainful employment. I don't even have a car. Not my problem. You got to have gainful employment. You got to be in a meeting 4 times a week. There's a lot of hoops that once you get caught up in the legal system, it can be very, very difficult. I knew a guy that lived out in the boonies, and they had him going through all these things, and he didn't drive or anything, and they kept violating him because he couldn't get to these places, and he was an older gentleman who was handicapped. They kept throwing him back in jail. That's really not right.
That's just ridiculous.
Well, there you go.
Well, don't you think it's kind of a matter of balance?
Sure.
The whole thing, you hear the argument all the time, meeting makers make it, or
right,
and you do hear people who come back in and they say, well, I quit going to meetings.
Sure.
After they've relapsed. And you do hear that stuff, but the fact of the matter is, no matter what, it's a balance.
It is.
Your step work, your sponsor, your time meditating, prayer, and meetings. It all kind of fits together like,
it's all one pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, with different pieces in it.
And people want to separate that out.
Yeah.
It seems like to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's where that compulsive nature gets in the way. We get fixated on doing, get caught up on one thing, not balancing the whole big picture of things out here.
Sure.
You get busy on one thought, one idea.
And then there's people that they're not very happy with the fact that maybe this kind of work that they're doing in their lives is something they need to do for the rest of their lives. And it's just a section of time, and then I'm done. And then they find themselves into trouble, Oh, okay. All right. So, well, all righty. Okay. So the option of relapse, it's always an option. It's there. What are you going to do with it? Denver.
Yes.
How can they listen to the show, Denver?
All right. You can listen and download any of our shows by going to take12radio.com and clicking on Follow Me on Podomatic. Once there, you can download our app for Android or iOS. You can comment on the shows, love us, hate us. We'd love to hear from you. You can also listen to the shows on our YouTube channel. Simply go to take12radio.com and click on the YouTube icon. And if you'd like to send us your email, our email address is take12radio@comcast.net. That's take12radio@comcast.net.
Excellent. Marv, thank you.
Thank you.
Denver, thank you.
Always
you very
good to
much.
see you guys.
Dave, who's in the lube, is that what they call it?
Incognito.
We'll thank him too.
Compulsive.
Our closing song is he's being compulsive.
Compulsive.
Our closing song is called "On a Night Like This" by Barry J. Hughes. Here you go.
You have loved me, you have saved me many times before. Forgive me as I ask of you for the strength once more to lift me from this place. Feels like an abyss. Will you be my saving grace on a night like this? Many nights I'd numb the pain and hide from all my fears. Turned to pills, believed cocaine for far too many years. So tempted to retrace, I wonder what I'd miss. Will you be my saving grace on a night like this? On a night like this, I feel as if there's nothing left to lose. On a night like this, oh, I don't know which way I'm gonna choose. On a night like this, will I be sober in the morning sun? If I slip, will I recover? Has the devil won? If I leave without a trace, am I someone you would miss? Will you be my saving grace on a night like this? On a night like this, I wanna use and oh, I wanna drink. On a night like this, I don't wanna lose and I don't wanna think. On a night like this, you have saved me. Will you help me out once more? On a night like this, I'm so afraid to end up like before. The voice inside my head won't let me get to sleep. If temptation wins tonight, God knows what I would read. On a night like this, I feel as if there's nothing left to lose. On a night like this, I don't know which way I'm gonna choose. On a night like this, will you save me? Spare me here once more. On a night like this, I come before you, desperate and unsure. The tears run down my face as I reminisce. Will you be my saving grace on a night like this? Will you be my saving grace on a night like this?
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us this week on Monday's show. Remember, you can access all of our shows. It doesn't matter what day of the week that you tune in at our archives on YouTube or Podomatic. You can access all of them at take12radio.com. Don't forget Wednesday's show, The Victory Report, where we interview men and women of Teen Challenge of Arizona sharing their experience, strength, and hope as it relates to overcoming life-controlling issues through the power of God. And then our Friday show, of course, Entitled to Overcome, with our co-host Dave Fleming, certified alcohol and drug counselor level 2 and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. Dave's great at what he does, so look forward to Friday's show as well. Make sure that you email us or comment on the shows, take12radio@comcast.net. Until next time, this is the Monty Man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family. We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.